Hello, welcome to the Soulspirational Wellness Center. My name is Tish Zwicky, and this video we're going to discuss how to name your ego. So, what is the ego? The ego is a part of who we are. We have a negative aspect as well as a positive aspect to our ego. And I would argue that those of us who grew up in very dysfunctional, negative households, that the negative aspect of the ego is probably more prominent in our adult lives unless we've learned a way of how to change our thinking along the line. And if we haven't, then we are still listening to that internal negative dialogue. And if we've grown up where, we've heard things as though you aren't worthy, you aren't lovable, you don't deserve, I almost sense that, it's like this tape recorder, and we have been recording this dialogue, things that have been said to us or directed at us, around us, and we have held on to those words of other people, and at some point, they became our words, and they come in through the negative aspect of the ego, as far as the negative words that have been directed towards us. So, though most of this video will be focusing on or around the negative ego, we'll also see where the positive ego comes to play as well. So again, we have the negative and the positive aspects of the ego. Most of us aren't really listening to the internal dialogue. It's just part of who we are. Maybe we're looking for a job, we're going through the classifieds, we find, oh, this sounds like a great job. And then this voice comes in and says, you're not qualified. You don't deserve that job. And so we just kind of internally just kind of sigh and say, no, you're right. And then we just keep scrolling or looking down through the classifieds. It's something else that we may feel is we may qualify for, and we may have a chance at getting it. So we sometimes really allow that internal dialogue from our ego to direct us in places that aren't always in alignment with our higher selves. So when we stop and take the time to name our ego, to associate a visual with that negative aspect of the ego, it can be very empowering. One, it allows you to stop and acknowledge the fact that these are somebody else's words, even if you just see it as your negative aspect ego saying the words, and that you don't have to take those words on as though they are your own. So we become more consciously aware of our internal dialogue, so we can start to make a shift in what we're saying to ourselves. So if you just pause for a moment and think about, what does my negative aspect ego look like? And if you want, you can close your eyes and see if something visualizes or comes into your mind. Can you imagine a figure? And it doesn't have to be a human figure. For example, one of my dear friends, hers is a ball of eyes. Mine is more of a shadowy figure. It can be anything that pops into your mind that feels right for you, that is the negative aspect of my ego. When you see this in your mind's eye, of how you look at your ego, I then want you to ask what its name is. If it didn't already come to mind, I'm going to pause for a moment and say, what is your name? As you are visualizing the image. Sometimes when we're doing visualization work, we will hear something and we'll speak over it, or am I making this up? Yes, make it up. Make it up. Whatever name sounds right for you. And again, it doesn't have to be a human name. You can name it table or a candle. Whatever you want to name it, it's your ego. This is simply an exercise for you. You don't have to share this with anybody else, what your ego, your negative aspect ego looks like in your mind, or what you call it, him, her, it's completely and totally about you. So once you visualize what your negative aspect ego looks like, and you have a name, the beautiful thing about this now is you have more control over the internal dialogue. So the next time you are looking for that job interview, or maybe you're single and you've recently met somebody and you hear this dialogue saying, you're not worthy. This man or this woman, as soon as they see my flaws, they're going to run. And you already start bringing yourself down, lowering yourself, bringing yourself into this kind of yuck state of what I call it. We're not feeling a high vibration. We're feeling this low level energy of I'm not worthy. So I'm simply asking you that when you hear this internal dialogue that is unhealthy, that is negative, or that you perceive to be unhealthy or negative, to simply acknowledge it. Visualize whatever it is that you call your negative aspect ego. Visualize it, call it by name, and let it know, hey, I see you. Mine, by the way, his name is Edgar. That's just what came up. So with me, when I am ready to meet with the client or teach a class, I like to set Edgar outside of my door. So instead of hearing, oh, you're going to mess this up, who do you think you are to think that you could teach this class or help other people? When I'm feeling that, we're hearing those words within me, I set Edgar, the ego, out the door. You can imagine that you're sending him into a cave, or her, or it, whatever it may be. You can send your negative aspect ego into a cave. You can imagine just this huge rubber band or whatever you want to do to maybe put it on the back of a rocket ship, and imagine that your ego is just going straight on up out into the universe. Whatever it is for you, you can imagine you're sending them into the earth, just while you are going through whatever it is that you're going through. You want to call this person back that you've already had this date with, but you want to get the negative ego out of your mind so you can have more confidence by making that phone call or applying for that job. Let me tell you, your negative aspect ego is not going to stay away forever. It's simply part of you. You're just taking a break. You're allowing yourself that separation. So you are making your negative aspect ego tangible. You're making it tangible. So you can simply say, hey, I recognize you, Edgar. I am now going to remove you and ask for you to go in that cave. You don't even have to summon your ego back out, because it will find you. It will be back there. But at least now you have a little bit of time in between where you can go ahead and get the work done that you would like to get done without the negative thoughts coming through. Now, once you have done that and you have removed the negative aspect ego, I'm going to pause for a moment. I'm going to ask for you to remove your negative aspect ego and just be. So if you'd like to close your eyes, take a deep breath, and then just simply state something to the effect of, now that so-and-so, in my case Edgar, I have sent him outside, I would now like to visit and see my positive aspect ego. Allow your mind's eye to imagine whatever your positive aspect ego looks like. And ask, if you haven't already, what is your name? And again, get a very nice, deep feel into the energy of your positive aspect ego. Really look at him, her, it, so you can remember what the positive aspect looks like as well. Really feel and hear the name of your positive aspect ego. To me, my positive aspect ego is my higher self. So when I am trying to create a video, a blog post, etc., I will ask for Edgar to stand outside the door, and I call in Lolita is my positive aspect ego. So I will call her in, my higher self, and I ask for her to help direct me, to help guide me in whatever it is that I'm about to do. When I see the two of them together, the positive and the negative aspects of my ego, I can really see the contrast between the two, and I can understand where the positive side gets drowned out by the negative aspect ego. The negative aspect ego, especially if it has been allowed to really fester and build within our being for however many years that you've been alive for, and that has had the louder voice than the positive aspect. We're allowing that just by simply being unaware. So now that you are aware and you can start recognizing that, okay, this is my negative aspect ego. These aren't my words. I didn't choose these words when I was 6 months old, 18 months old, 3 years old, 14 years old. These are words that others had said to me in my lifetime, and again, it's like I had a record button, and it is stuck in my negative aspect ego. I am simply repeating words that others have said to me, about me, toward me, that I don't have to own. I don't have to own their words. I don't have to take them on as my own. So as you start making your negative aspect ego more tangible, you can simply remove it. Again, even if it's for just a short period of time, it may be just enough to print out your resume, put it in an envelope, sign it, drop it in the mailbox, and by the time you get home from the post office, it's already back within you. You can, maybe then hear it saying, oh, you shouldn't have done that. Oh, you're never going to get the job anyway. It will come back to you. But in time, the more that you acknowledge it, the fact that it's there, and make it more tangible, the more you're able to work with it. Instead of just, blindly moving forward and just hearing the dialogue and the competing voices. Well, no, I think I am good enough. Well, no, history tells you that you're not, because these other people said that you weren't. It helps to delineate the two aspects of the ego. So, and again, we're always going to have both, but it's which one are we going to give more power to? There are times where the negative aspect ego or the perceived negative aspect ego really does help to protect us. There is a reason for it to be in place. But again, when we make it tangible, when we become aware of the fact that it does exist, and that we can separate it, the perceived negative from the positive, then we can start making conscious decisions, conscious choices that are best and right for us. What is in our highest, greatest good? So thank you for watching the Name Your Ego video. I really hope that this helps you as you move forward. It may be awkward in the beginning, but if you stick with it, just like with anything else, it becomes more of who you are. And it's been really interesting for myself personally to really take notice of what my personal or my internal dialogue has been. Prior to doing this, I thought I had a pretty good grasp of what I was hearing and saying in my mind. But because I've made this tangible, by recognizing Edgar, when I hear that voice, it really brings me clarity. It brings it front and center that, wow, this is what I've been saying to myself for decades. I can hear it, and sometimes certain words will come through, and I can even sometimes it may be vague, but I can hear the voice of my mother behind those words. I can hear the voice of my father, the voice of a teacher, the voice of a neighbor behind those words. Allowing me to realize at a deeper level that these truly aren't my own words about me. That these are words that I have taken on, that others, for whatever their reasons were, I have taken them on as though they are my own, and they aren't. So I'm simply asking you to allow yourself to delineate between the two, the perceived negative, the perceived positive, make them each more tangible, and choose. You have an opportunity, and choice is very empowering when we can consciously choose one or the other instead of being on co-pilot and it's just happening around us. That isn't as empowering as really consciously being aware. So again, I really hope that this has been beneficial to you. If you have any questions or comments about that, about this exercise, please feel free to call me, to leave a message here, to email me, whatever is right for you, and I'll help any way that I can. So thank you again for your time. I wish you a beautiful, blessed day. Thank you.